Hi, welcome back. We're glad to see you and be able to share a little bit of our trip with you about Georgia. Our heads are spinning from everything we saw in Georgia and learned at amazing places. And we want to share them with you now because it's so important to do it while it's fresh in our minds. The effect of the Soviet Union are just so devastatingly felt in Georgia. And I say this because we went to Mongolia and I could see the horrors of the Soviet Union in that country, just deforestation, stripping the mines. It's so much the Roman playbook that we need to call it out and get Putin over with for the benefit of all humankind. We start here because standing in those places of the earliest Europeans almost 2 million years ago, with also Bronze Age and medieval artifact, means that Georgia has been important for a long, long time. Now, maybe we'll find other evidence of human habitation all over Europe 3 million years ago, but right now, that is pretty amazing. And they don't look that much different from us, according to these amazing reconstructions that were done by University of Zurich people. I mean, this has been an international effort for a long time. But Georgia itself, that layer of time when the Soviet Union was there, meant that the ugliest Soviet era renditions of the mining camps came into being right near the gold mines. And it meant that the wines, too, the wines are very important in this whole thing, because during that Soviet period, the Soviets wanted only like 2 kinds of grapes that were easiest to produce and mass produce, and just no thought given to any tradition Georgia has had. And Georgia apparently leads Europe as far as when wine was introduced. Our trip there was just hugely important for those reasons. We didn't really have that great a plan when we went in. The first day we spent in the wine country, which was marvelous, but it was on a tour in a jam-packed bus, and getting in and out of the bus, being constrained to a certain amount of time for places, not being able to photograph in the convent where this Nino, who is so important to the whole country, holds a cross supposedly made of grapevines and has human hair holding it together. Talk about a memorial, right? Nino is the honored person in this place, which of course has been taken over as a saint by the Roman Catholic Church. And they wouldn't let us film. You know, it was that kind of first day for us, just getting a sense of what was there and the importance of being there. Second day, we went to the National Museum and saw fabulous exhibits that brought this Tbilisi site near the gold mine into great importance because of the museum attention given to it and all the information that we were able to garner from that visit to the museum. We also, on that day that we were in Tbilisi, went to the Jewish quarter, visited the sites of 2 synagogues there, one Ashkenazi, and that Sioni church in between. That, you know, you go into that beautiful place and you can imagine having the round table and chairs and singers and dancers and wonderful food coming in and everybody gathered there. Now, of course, it's a Christian church in between these 2 synagogues. And of course, what people are doing in there, they are kissing the floor. They are kissing the glass of these icons. If they'd only look and see these icons, they can see that they're their own people because these are memorials. You can see it in the beauty of the design, in the beauty of the fabrics, in the love of the people who are being recognized and remembered in these icons. Some of them are silver, fabulously worked. Wonderful designs. Overall, you know what I'm talking about, these silver icons with just the heads cut out and the individual actually remembered exactly. Just think about it. You'll see it's all been very ill-fitted to the Christian takeover because it doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense if you just step back and look at it. These are memorials to women who were killed by the Christian conquest because they were heathens, they were property of men, they had a bounty on their head as Celt and other inhabitants of Europe. They were hunted like animals for centuries, and that's why we see the safe houses. There is so much that we need to explore in these things, but we have seen all of this in Georgia. We have seen the 2 million years of European habitation, where Asia and Africa and Europe all come together in Tbilisi, Dmanisi. We have seen the Roman takeover in the very name of Georgia. St. George and the Dragon has nothing to do with the Tbilisi or with the previous name of Georgia.
Hello, welcome back. We're just back from an amazing trip to Georgia, the Republic of Georgia. We had a short time in Georgia, 3 days on the ground to actually do things. And it's a beautiful country. The people are wonderful. The food and wine, of course, are wonderful. You have this sense, and you get it from seeing the contrast between the city and the smaller towns, that some people are doing pretty well and some aren't, and even in the cities, some are doing better than others. But I'll say this, there was happiness at freedom in the sense of not being under an autocrat. We heard it from some, we sensed it from others. They don't want to have Russia move in any further. Yet there are indications that Russians are there buying real estate and things like that. You've got to ask why. Well, they've got a couple of provinces in the northwest that Putin moved in on in the mid-2000s, just as he moved in on Ukraine and the eastern Ukraine. So people are happy to be where they are. They're encouraged by where they are. They see a bright future. They're traveling within Europe. I've got to say, right on one of the main squares in Tbilisi, it's called Freedom Square. It's also known as Liberty Square. There's a building, an office there it's called the EU and NATO Information Center. I don't know much about NATO and Georgia, but certainly the EU is on track and Georgia's on track to make that happen. The EU is already supporting the rehabilitation and presentation of some cultural sites within the country we've seen. And the Europeans are reaching out to the Georgians are reaching out to the Europeans, and the Georgians feel that they are part of Europe. And from the things we see on the ground, that's absolutely correct. They love to have their freedom. They want to keep their freedom. They don't want to be under a dictator. We should all take that lesson when we go to vote in November. Thanks to you all. Bye.